What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the TCG Empire YouTube channel. Today we are taking a look at Arceus VSTAR. Now, this is the Arceus VSTAR list that placed second at the Sacramento Regionals this past weekend. And I have to say that this deck was kind of unexpected, but it does run some cards that you would not expect to see in the meta right now. So, Arceus VSTAR has the Trinity Nova attack. For 200 damage, you search your deck for up to 3 basic energy and attach them to V Pokemon in any way you like. And then it has the Starbirth ability, where during your turn you can search your deck for up to 2 cards, put them in your hand, and then shuffle your deck. So this deck was ran by Nicolo, I believe that's how you pronounce his name, and he decided to run a 1/1 Gyarados VMAX line in his list. Now this is a card that used to be super dominant because there was a deck revolving around it with using the capsules, but that was a couple formats ago. This card has been kind of, under the table and put in binders ever since. So Gyarados VMAX has 330 HP for 2 water and a colorless. It has Hyper Beam, so it does 120. You discard an energy, and it's super solid. And then for 4 energy, it does just a straight 240. Gyarados VMAX is most likely going to be used for Hyper Beam for 120. And then for the baby Gyarados, you have Get Angry, which for 2 water and a colorless does 20 times the amount of damage counters on you. So if you have 100 damage on you, this hits 200. If you have 150, it hits 300. If Charizard hits you for 180, not KOing you, you can Get Angry for 360. So really solid. And we're also playing Slacking V. Slacking V has the ability Kinda Lazy. If you have 2, 4, or 6 prizes remaining, it can't attack. And for 4 colorless energy, it does 260. Now, to combat everything in the deck, we are running 4 Path to the Peak. This is an Arc Path deck, as we all know by now, is Arc's best friend. Path to the Peak, Pokemon with rule boxes have no abilities. So this means that you can turn off your own Slacking V's ability in order to attack. And with that, we are playing 3 Judge in order to have your opponent shuffle draw, and 2 Iono, just to kind of punish your opponent later in the game once they take prizes. We're also playing Sharon's Care, which can come in handy at being able to heal your colorless type Pokemon. And we are also playing Melanie. Melanie is in here just because it means that if you do manage to whiff an energy turn 1, you still can set up an Arc, as you can attach a DTE and then Melanie a water from the discard. So paired with that, we are also running Radiant Greninja. The deck is pretty solid. It is fun. Some of the counts I would change, some things I'm questionable on, but Nicolo did do well with this for his very first regionals ever. So as always, the deck list will be posted right here so you guys have a full clean view of it. And then the deck list will also be in the description for you guys to copy and paste. Real quick, I want to thank you guys for all the love and support. Thank you for all of the subscribers that have joined over the past week. We're closing in on 700, almost reaching that 1,000 sub mark. So if you guys could do me a favor, smash the like button, subscribe, turn on post notifications if you're new. That would be greatly appreciated. But with that being said, guys, I want to thank you for everything, and I'll catch you in the gameplay later. Alrighty, guys, into the very first game with Arceus VSTAR. Let's see what we can do. Looking at this hand, not looking too bad if I do say so myself. My opponent does mulligan, and we are playing against Palkia. Palkia could be a bit tricky. Let's see. Palkia maxes out at 260 with Choice Belt. It's 290, so we need to make sure that we get a V-Guard on Arceus. So it's probably going to be good for us to try and dig a little bit with the Radiant Greninja, and then see what we can do. We don't really have anything that can one-shot a Palkia, so it's going to be a battle of attrition. So my opponent starts Horsey, so seems like it might not be the most aggressive Palkia deck, so I'm not too worried about that. But looking at this start, honestly, not really the start that I'm looking for, but I guess it's not the end of the world. We do have access to 2 Ultra Ball as well. I could have used one of those to grab a Bidoof, but I don't think right now I'm going to need that much draw consistency. I think, honestly, next turn is just going to be grab DTE and Path and then Judge Path Swing. So the Ultra Ball means that we can grab something out, potentially like the Slacking, or we can grab another Arceus. Arceus might be the best bet to kind of, set up and do as much damage as possible. So I don't hate the idea of that. There's the concealed cards. Honestly, if we attach and Melanie, that's not that good. Alright, so we do get a switch. Switch isn't going to do too much for us, though. So what we'll do here is we'll use the concealed cards first. Again, just to see some of the cards that we can get. And we actually get the Path to the Peak, which means now what we can do is use Starbirth. And we'll grab the Doof and a DTE. So we can go Bidoof, and go the DTE. Ultra Ball, get rid of a Judge, and we'll get rid of the other Ultra Ball. Should I get rid of the other Ultra Ball? Switch, I'm not technically in a position where it's going to be the end of the world. I'll get rid of the Ultra Ball, and then what we can do is we'll grab Slacking, because Slacking does have the ability to one-shot those Palkias. So we can go Slacking. We can lay down the Path to the Peak, use Judge, put my opponent to 4, and then just start building our board even more. And we do have access to the Bidoof next turn with the barrel, so we'll use Trinity Nova for 180. And then now we can start building up our board with Slacking. So we will take a single prize, and we actually get another water, which means that Slacking can hit for 260 with no reductions. So not looking too bad at all. There's a Melanie coming down. And the nice part is that we can actually use the Sharon's Care on the Arceus if my opponent hits into it. And we can put the water on and then just use Slacking to attack. But my opponent chooses not to, so that's fine. I think what we'll do is just attach to the Slacking. And then we can go Barrel. I'm not in any real danger right now. So I think what we'll do is boss his Orders the Radiant Greninja just so we're back on an even price curve. And then we can use the Industrious Incisors. We do get a V-Guard Energy, which will help with Slacking for next turn. Let's use that Trinity Nova. No need to grab the 1 energy. And then, as I mentioned before, if my opponent, attacks into the arc, we're good. We have 1 open bench space, so there's no way my opponent will be able to one-shot us, which means that we can use the Sharon's Care into Slacking, hit 290, and we're good. There's the energy on Palkia, Arceus. Able to draw 7 cards as they did have 6. So there's the Palkia that we talked about. We do have Path to the Peak, which means Star Portal is not active. And there's a Manaphy. There is the Star or the Subspace Swell for 180. And now, as we mentioned before, we are just going to use that Sharon's Care, pick up the Arceus, promote the Slacking, bench the Arceus, we'll attach the Double Turbo, attach the Choice Belt, and hit Heavy Impact for 290. And my opponent can attack next turn, but as we saw, they only did 180, so they do have to find 3 more bench Pokemon to be able to one-shot us, because they need to hit 240, which means they have to fill their bench with 4 more Pokemon, have an energy plus the evolution, and I'm not sure if they can do that with their hand. So this deck really showcasing the aspects of why, you know, Judge Path with Arceus is so strong. So there's the Melanie drawing 3. And if they did end up finding a way to set up a Palkia with a full bench, it would be awkward, but they would only be at 4, so they just choose to pass, meaning that we can use the slacking heavy impact 290, which means we can take the final 2 prizes, and with that, end the very first game with this Arceus deck. So that was game number 1. The deck felt pretty good. It felt pretty consistent right there. So let's hop into a second game and see exactly what we can do there. Alrighty, guys, into the second game with the Arceus deck. Hopefully we are able to pull off something that will do us well. Maybe get use out of that Gyarados. So our opponent does lose the coin flip, which means that we do have the ability to go first, which means that we can get a turn to Arceus into a Judge Path going, which should be pretty good. So looking at this start, it's pretty lackluster. Hopefully we can get something like an Ultra Ball. If we do, then it gives us the ability to set up the Arceus for the next turn. So we're playing against Larvitar and Doduo, so we're probably playing against the Tyranitar deck. So gonna be a little bit scary. Larvitar can actually hit us for weakness, but thankfully the Tyranitar is electric type. Gyarados not going to serve too much of a purpose here, so here's Path to the Peak coming down as well. So there's the Corkscrew Punch for 20. Now my opponent can actually start dealing some good amount of damage. So what we're going to do here is just go for the Judge. I don't want to attach the energy, just because if I do hit a double turbo, I'll be in a better spot. But we don't get it, but that is a-okay. I'm thinking we get the slacking down, because slacking can be powered up. So what we'll do is go Trinity Charge here, and we'll go 3 energy. We'll put 3 on slacking. I don't think my opponent's going to take a knockout, so we'll put the 1 on Arceus, and then that way next turn we can use Power Edge if need be. And if we get a double turbo, then we can attack with slacking. If we get knocked out with the Arceus, we have the ability to Melanie onto the slacking, so things are looking pretty okay for us right now. My opponent played the Path to the Peak out for us, so if they are running any abilities, we have a way to kind of counter them. So there's an Ultra Ball coming down, and my opponent can't actually get the Dodrio out, so could be a bit scary. There's the Dodrio. So unless they hit something crazy off of this Dodrio on Zooming Draw, I think we're okay for a turn. So let's see how this goes. There's the Confront 460. So we are going to be able to take a knockout. We do have access to Judge. I think what we're going to do, though, is just Serena. We'll get rid of the 2 so we can draw as many as possible. We do get access to Ultra Ball as well. So what we can do is Ultra Ball, get rid of these 2. We'll grab ourselves a Arceus VSTAR, which means now we can take a big knockout, not having to deal with the Tyranitar, leaving my opponent at 2 cards. We can grab 2 energy. I'll only grab the 1 though, as I do have access to Melanie, and there is a water energy, so that way I just have it in the deck if need be, and I'm not attaching extra energy off Melanie to potentially draw a card. So hopefully my opponent can hit something off this Dodrio, so that way it's a bit of a quicker game. There's a level ball, so they are going to be able to grab at least another Pokemon. They could get something like Larvitar down. They could get something along the lines of, okay, so there's Cleffa, so they can actually shuffle and draw 6 or 7 for no bad investment, so that'll be good for them. And We do have Nest Ball, which means that we can grab the Bidoof, which means that we can then get the Barrel down. We have the Melanie, which can attach to the Slacking, so things are not looking too bad for us. And as mentioned, my opponent will have to retreat, and then they can use the Grasping Draw in order to fully reset their hand. So there's the Grasping Draw, so they draw until they have 7. And we get a double turbo. We don't really need that, so what we'll do here is just grab the Bidoof. And then we can go Melanie on the Slacking. Draw us a few more cards, and we actually get an Escape Rope, which means that we could Escape Rope this Dodrio to take away some draw potential, which I don't hate. So I think what we'll do is just kind of establish the board more that way. So we'll go Escape Rope, go into Slacking, and we can use another Nest Ball. We'll grab the other Bidoof just in case we draw another Bibarel. That way we have the potential to see a lot more cards. Hit for 260, take a knockout, and then put ourselves back on even prizes. And thankfully, as I mentioned before, Kinda Lazy is not active due to Path to the Peak, so we don't have to worry about the fact that my opponent is at 6 prizes. So there's an Iono coming, so my opponent's going to put us at 4, putting a Bibarel to the bottom. A bit unfortunate, but we do get Ultra Ball to get out of it, which is nice. So we do have access to Starbirth as well with Lost Vacuum. So everything kind of working the way that we needed to. We do have access to Boss's Orders as well, so we can actually just kind of pick my opponent's board apart. And depending on what they get, we'll just go for a boss next turn and save ourselves the trouble of everything else. So a Larvitar coming down. There's a Fighting Energy. Grasping Draw, putting them to a fresh 7. And we do get a V-Guard Energy, which means we can go V-Guard, and then we can go Boss's Orders on the Larvitar. Hit for 260. Take a knockout, take a prize. And things are looking pretty good. We have another Arceus VSTAR. We don't have to worry too much yet about, putting the Bibarel in play. We'll probably go for the Arceus VSTAR next turn, depending on what we top deck. Probably just Ultra Ball, or we'll Lost Vacuum into the Arceus VSTAR, into potentially a Boss's Orders. So there's a Gutsy Pickaxe. So my opponent gets 2 more Larvitar down, which is good for them. That means that they can finally establish 1. And I don't think my opponent is playing anything with ability, so we don't need to worry too much about putting a Path to the Peak back in play. So there's a Boss's Orders bringing up a Doof. So now we're going to have to find a switching card plus a boss, which doesn't sound too bad. So there's a Water Energy. So what I'm thinking we do is go Lost Vacuum, get rid of the Path to the Peak. Then this means that we can evolve and go Starbirth, and we actually have the energy to retreat as well, so we can just grab the Bibarel here and Boss's Order, and my opponent concedes. So the aspects of all the consistency worked out well. I think everything kind of, went the way that we needed it to, and I think that Slacking is put in the most work when it comes to me and playing this deck. So if you guys did enjoy today's video, do me a favor, smash the like button, subscribe, turn on post notifications, and with that being said, I'll catch you guys in tomorrow's video. Later.